We're going to get started in a little bit. We're still waiting for some more participants to log on, so thank you all for your patience. And we are recording, just so everybody is aware. Okay, I think I'm going to get us started since we have quite a number of people here on time. And we have a very tight agenda, so I just want to make sure that we don't feel rushed. But again, thank you all for being here. My name is Lorena Castillo, and I'm one of the co-executive directors of Groundwork Richmond. So I just want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge that myself and my team are currently sitting on Native Ohlone and Mawakni territories. So if you know your the territory that you're on, it'd be great to put it in the chat so that way we can see where folks are logging in from. And just to go over today's agenda, our goal for today is to give you all an overview of our community air monitoring program in partnership with the City of Richmond and Ramboll. We're going to be reviewing some data findings of our black carbon monitors that were recently decommissioned. We're going to hear from experts from our panel of experts and learn more about some resources available to you. And we're also going to share some upcoming opportunities for you all. And we will get a break around 4:15 or so. We will have a little break and a raffle, and then we're going to hear from some presenters from Lifelong Medical. And then we're going to welcome our panelists and give you all, the audience, an opportunity to ask our panelists some questions. And we're going to close out with a final raffle and some more resources for you all. And so, so Richmond has, so if we look back at Richmond's histories, we see exponential growth of Black and Brown residents due to shipyard jobs during World War II. We see discriminating housing policies and practices. We see growth in industrialization with refineries, railroad lines, multiple freeways, parkways, ports, and ferries. And then we are all experiencing climate change and increases in wildfires in California, sea level rise. So all these things are kind of looming here in Richmond. And so we wanted to address these issues and kind of talk about why we're all here today and why we choose to either live or work in Richmond, and talk about some of the resources available to us so that we can help, mitigate some of these changes. And I'll go ahead and give it over to Sabrina.
We are going to have our first poll of questions first. I'm going to launch the poll just to see where everyone resides and, kind of gauge their knowledge about air quality. So if you could please answer the first poll, that would be great. Okay, great. I'm gonna end the poll about 17. Okay, all of you responded now. Thank you so much for your participation. Share the results if you want to see. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Sabrina Paras, and I am an AmeriCorps Civic Spark Fellow with the City Manager's Office, Economic Development, Environmental and Health Initiatives Division. Now, before we dive into the community air monitoring data findings, the city would like to share some additional community air monitoring resources and some program information in Richmond that are supplemental to Groundwork's mission. And all links provided today can also be found on the city's Environmental and Health Initiatives Division website at www.richmondenvironment.org. Next slide, please. So the Richmond Community Air Monitoring Program is an independent initiative designed to provide real-time air quality readings to the public and provide greater access to historic air quality data. The program includes 3 community air monitors located within North Richmond, Atchison Village, and Point Richmond neighborhoods. The installation of the fence line and community air monitoring system resulted from the Measure T tax settlement. And in 2013, Chevron installed and began operating open path air monitoring systems in collaboration with the city. Recently, the monitoring system was updated to comply with BACMIT's 12-15 rule, and the monitors now measure and provide close to real-time concentrations of 11 chemical compounds at the fence line monitors and 17 compounds at the 3 community monitors. Examples of monitored compounds include benzene, ammonia, and black carbon, just to name a few. Next slide, please. So the California legislature created the Air District back in 1955 as the first regional air pollution control agency in the country. And the Air District is tasked with regulating stationary sources of air pollution in the 9 counties that surround the San Francisco Bay. So it is governed by a 24-member board of directors composed of locally elected officials from each of the 9 Bay Area counties, with the number of board members from each county being proportionate to its population. So the Air District has an air monitoring index for the Bay Area where residents can view the current air quality data collected from the Air District's air monitoring network. If you're looking for the monitor closest to Richmond specifically, it is the San Pablo Rumrail monitor under the Coast and Central Bay States section. So BACMIT is the primary enforcement agency for any air-related items. So if you smell an odor in your neighborhood or notice any air pollution, which includes flaring, you could please contact BACMID through their 24-hour hotline or via their online portal. So we also included a screenshot of the complaint form to the right. We just wanted to provide this to you as a resource, and the language assistance is available for Spanish and other languages through the hotline as well. Next slide, please. Additionally, the city has had the pleasure to partner with Groundwork Richmond to implement their CARB grants. So in 2019, Groundwork Richmond completed its installation of air monitoring sensors in Richmond through their Air Rangers program. And the monitors measure particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10 and nitrogen dioxide. The data from the monitors is also linked to and can be viewed on the city's open data platform known as Transparent Richmond. Next slide, please. So Transparent Richmond is the city's citywide open data and performance reporting system. The open data platform currently spans 11 city departments and contains over 300 data sets, visualizations, and performance measures, many of which feature monthly, weekly, or daily updates. So Transparent Richmond aims to accomplish the following. Number 1, improve the collective understanding of all city services. Number 2, automate performance data to help track and meet budget and service goals. And lastly, leverage evidence-based analysis to develop innovative solutions that improve the quality of life in Richmond. The Sustainability and Health Equity section of Transparent Richmond monitors and tracks implementation progress of the Richmond Climate Action Plan. So community members can view and have access to all of the posted data sets. And every year, our division works to update the visualizations and data sets that are currently unautomated. City staff members are currently working to publish a health in all policies page as the latest addition to Transparent Richmond. And this specific page will address the social determinants of health in Richmond by integrating health into the decision-making process at the city. So the ultimate goal is to automate all the data sets on Transparent Richmond, to have them all updated for the community to access. And city staff members will continue to encourage organizations to adopt software platforms to track data and link it to Transparent Richmond. And now I will turn it over to Lorena with Groundwork Richmond.
Thanks, Sabrina. So I just wanted to give everyone just a brief little history on Groundwork Richmond. And Groundwork Richmond is part of a larger network of local trusts. And so there are 21 other groundworks throughout the nation. And we are one of 2 in California. And so we have similar goals and similar programs throughout the nation. And we strive to share the knowledge and expertise gained locally in order to achieve the mission nationally. And so with our various programs, we address environmental and social inequities in Richmond. We have a green team, and Salma will talk a little bit later about our green team. And we also have an urban forestry program. And to date, we have planted 2,500 trees in and around Richmond. They were either planted in partnership with the city, so at local parks or public areas, or individually in people's homes. And our newest program is our Air Rangers program, which we launched in 2019. We were part of the Community Air Grants program, and we were awarded funding and we were implementing the AB 617 opportunity grants. And so we partnered with the city and with Ramboll to with our program to train our Green Corps and our Green Team to install remote air monitors throughout Richmond in parks and public spaces. We have collected air quality data, and we've also provided residents with real-time air quality information, which we will share a little later on today. And now I will introduce Salma Berumen, who will talk about our Air Rangers program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Salma. I'm the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator. I manage all things Green Team and Air Rangers. Air Rangers is comprised of both Green Corps and Green Team members, and they are a cluster of youth ages 15 to 19 and 19 to 26. When we went out to put out these monitors that we visited on a monthly basis for routine maintenance, and that consisted of 4 different locations. And the first one was the Groundwork Richmond location, which is located in Point Richmond. The Fire Station 64 located near Highway 580 on Bayview. The Fire Station 67 on Cutting, and finally the Richmond Police Department that is located in the marina. On a monthly basis, we would visit the black carbon monitors and perform a routine checkup. Our methods consisted of data download, so that was manual data retrieval, connecting the monitor to a laptop and downloading the data. Data transmit would consist of sending our data to our data specialists and having them look it over and them letting us know what kind of maintenance we would have to do. And we would have to replace the tape that would actually record the black carbon particulates in the air. And finally, starting the machine back up so that it can collect more data for the next month. We can go to the next slide, please. And finally, we have a member of our Green Team who would like to share his experience, and that would be Cesar Gutierrez.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Cesar Gutierrez. I'm 17 years old, and I am a senior at Summit Tamalpais. I'm a part of Groundwork Richmond and a part of the Green Team. So what I learned is that air can affect our respiratory system, and over time it can also lead to different health effects, such as like respiratory failures and stuff, and things similar to that. Was my experience working with the air monitors was very technical at first. It was difficult for me to understand, but once we started working hands-on with the monitors, I was able to further understand how particulates are being captured and sent to the lab for analysis. I thought that there was more to it, but it's pretty accessible from my experience. And something I'm looking forward to putting up more air monitors around Richmond to see what parts of Richmond are more polluted. Richmond currently lacks air data. For example, we looked up the Banduro screen. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And there was no data uploaded since 2018. Having a live map of air quality would help us with who live in Richmond and know more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Caesar. And finally, we have a member of our Green Corps who would like to share their experience also.
All right. Hey, so my name is Andrew Avina. I'm 19 years old. I'm currently an urban forestry technician here at Groundwork Richmond. I've been working here for about 2 years now. And so what my experience was like, it was very hands-on. I worked with Salma and one of my other coworkers. Every time that we did have to do, that monthly checkups and the maintenance, and it was very engaging too, because we got to work with like community members from the local fire department and the police department as well. And a couple of things that I learned is, so one thing about me is I'm not from Richmond, I'm from Napa, and I didn't know too much about Richmond nor its history. And one thing that I did learn is that Richmond is surrounded by a lot of sources of pollutants, the refineries, a lot of main highways, shipping ports as well. And I learned, if we keep doing this type of work and these grants and setting up more air monitors, we're going to be able to distinguish what type of pollutants and how and what those levels are. And I think that's pretty cool, because it allows the community to become more engaged and more aware of what's happening and what's around them. And so a couple of things that I'm looking forward to is being able to utilize this data that we're retrieving from the air monitors and being able to create projects which will lower the pollutants and kind of just mitigate, all those pollutants, and try to help people, just be more healthy out in their neighborhoods. And one thing that we do to help that and alleviate those problems is, tree planting projects. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to, is allowing the communities to come out here and be more hands-on, and so they can learn by first-hand experience what's going on within their communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your presentation. And I'm going to introduce Aya Hassan, from a senior consultant at Ramboll, who will be presenting on the more technical side of our data findings. Take it away, Aya.
Thank you. Can you see my screen? It should be a slide. I can try again. Can you see anything on the screen right now?
Yeah, we can see your screen. I'm just having a hard time hearing you, but
Oh, sorry. I'll speak up.
okay.
Great. Okay. So yeah, thank you all for the technical challenges. It's really great to meet you all, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Aya, and I'm a senior air quality consultant with Ramboll, managing Ramboll's portion of the Air Rangers 2 project, which is the continuation of Air Rangers 1. My background is in chemical engineering, and I have experience with low-cost sensor siting and deployment, data analysis, emissions estimation, air dispersion modeling, and health risk assessment. And we at Ramboll worked very closely with Groundwork Richmond on this project, and we're excited to share what we've worked on.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm hearing from some of our guests that they're still having a hard time hearing you.
See what I can do. I'm gonna use a different speaker.
Oh, that sounds a little better.
Great.
Yeah,
And
that sounds a lot better.
okay, awesome.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, can you see my screen again
Yes,
and hear me?
yes.
Perfect. Great.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so why do we care about air quality? Air pollution affects all of us. It leads to approximately 5 million deaths globally every year. And air quality is a complex issue that is difficult to tackle, and communities need to know where and how to start. So what is particulate matter? Solid and liquid particles, or pollutants found in the air, are known as particulate matter. And as you can see on this figure, particulate matter, and especially black carbon, can cause a number of health issues, which include respiratory disease, birth defects, stroke, and heart attack. And in the short term, they can even contribute to an increase in asthma and respiratory distress. And so during this presentation, we're going to just kind of go over a brief background of the Air Rangers project, try not to be too redundant, and then jump into the findings and results. And if any questions come up, please drop them in the chat and they'll be either answered by someone else or during the Q&A panel. So as Lorena and Selma described earlier, Air Rangers 1 began with the deployment of clarity sensors at hotspots identified by the community through the Citizen Engagement app. And those sensors measured particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide. So Ramboll's real-time air quality model SHARE was then deployed to show hyper-local air quality in the community. And in addition, under Air Rangers 1, toxic metals were measured at 9 locations in Richmond. And the data and monitoring project were unanimously adopted by the monitoring outreach team at the district. And so Air Rangers 2, which is what we're talking about today, continued the real-time air quality modeling platform and also measured for black carbon concentrations at those 4 locations. All Air Rangers projects have prioritized community engagement and workforce development. Okay. So, and we heard a little bit about this earlier, but I still want to take a step back. So where does air pollution come from? Roadways are major sources of pollution due to vehicle exhaust emissions and road dust. And in addition, industries such as refineries, the landfill, and ports contribute to particulate matter pollution. And then upwind regional pollution can also contribute to overall air quality. So the figure on the right here is a map of Richmond, as you all probably recognize, and it shows CalEnviro's screen scores, which are based on air quality, demographic data, health impacts, and income disparities. And when we take a look at the map, we can see by the color gradient that there are clear disparities between neighborhoods. And the more red and orange colors are a higher score. And so the blue icons that we can see represent some of the major pollution sources in the area. And a big question that we're trying to answer is, are the emission sources near the affected neighborhoods responsible for the pollution that we're seeing? Is the air pollution driven from these sources, or is it driven from roadway traffic? And furthermore, what is the impact of traffic from the freeways on the local community? How does weather impact air quality in Richmond? And what is the air quality in areas where people recreate? So to communicate the live air quality to the community and fill in the gaps between the network, our team deployed our real-time air quality modeling system called SHARE in Richmond. And the GIF on this slide shows the SHARE model's air pollution map over a 24-hour time frame. And it is available at the link here at the bottom. So the goal was to blend together our model's best estimate of air pollution with the observations informed by the sensor network that Groundwork Richmond deployed. And the benefit over only having sensors is that we can provide pollutant concentrations in the empty areas between the sensors on a 10 meter by 10 meter scale. And this also can come along with details such as where the pollution comes from and some of the answers to questions posed on the previous slide. So the system, the system refreshes hourly, producing new PM 2.5, PM10, and NO2 maps viewable on mobile phones and desktop web browsers. The SHARE is available anytime at your fingertips. And one way to really take advantage of this is to reduce your daily exposure by checking SHARE in your neighborhood. So for example, before going for a walk or a jog, you can check out the air quality on the route you're planning to take. And if you notice any hotspots or elevated concentrations, you can change your route to reduce your shorter term exposure. So how do we know where the air quality is coming from? If you click on any point on the map, what you see on the right is what will pop up. So there's a pie chart that shows the estimated source contribution from various sources. That is how much of a source contributes to the concentration that you're seeing. So for example, the area source category includes wood burning emissions, fugitive dust from construction, and some restaurant stoves. The non-road source will include vessel emissions, so emissions from the boats at the port and rail. And the point sources are typical industrial stacks. And so by analyzing all of this data over time, we can get a better sense of the long-term air quality trends in the community. So what have we learned so far? I lost my mouse. Okay. So on this slide, you can see two maps of Richmond side by side. On the left is 2020, and on the right is 2021. And that shows annual average PM 2.5 concentrations. The darker the red color, the higher the concentrations. So you can see that in 2020, concentrations were higher on average, and that was generally due to the wildfire season that we had. But you can also see that there is a lot of variation by neighborhood, which shows clear disparities in different neighborhoods within Richmond. And in both of these maps, we can see that traffic consistently contributes to PM 2.5 concentrations. There's generally a darker color gradient along the major roadways and highway. And so we dove into the 2020 data a little bit further to really try to understand what those major sources are besides the wildfires. And so as you can see here on this pie chart, we tried to summarize that. And the background is about 56% of what we're seeing, which makes sense because wildfires are kind of a regional major source. But the second largest contributing source is the area sources. And so those are largely driven by residential wood burning. And the third largest source is traffic. We all know that that comes from cars. And so as community members, we can consider using public transportation when it's feasible, or even our bikes. And when the air quality is poor, especially looking at the public transportation option. So now we'll jump into a little bit about how air quality and wind patterns are related. So on the left-hand side, you can see this map, and there are some black arrows. And those black arrows represent the average wind direction in the Bay Area from the spring to summertime. And wind typically travels from the southwest to the northeast. And by looking at the share trends seasonally, we can kind of see the impact that those wind patterns have on spatial air pollution trends. So on the right here, we can see that the concentration follows the direction of the wind pattern that we would expect, with higher concentrations moving up towards the north. And on the next slide, this shows the fall and winter patterns. And we can see here that it's actually the opposite trend. So the wind generally moves from the northeast and makes its way to the southwest, which, as you can see on the map here on the right, there's a higher dispersion going towards the south. And wind patterns are not the only thing that change by season. Atmospheric patterns do as well. So I don't know if you all noticed in December and January and a little bit of early February this year, the conditions were very hazy and foggy in the Bay Area. And so that could be due to these inversion layers. An inversion layer occurs when there's a layer of cooler air that's trapped closer to the surface by a layer of warm air above it. And when this happens, as you can kind of see in this figure, the pollution gets trapped and it cannot disperse. And that's what contributes to the poor air quality in the wintertime. So now we will, jump into the black carbon analysis results that Salma was talking about earlier. So yeah, as Selma mentioned, the Groundwork Richmond set up black carbon monitors at 4 locations, and these monitors were generously loaned as an in-kind contribution to the project from ACE Labs. And black carbon is a subset of particulate matter. So it is particulate matter, and it is formed when diesel, coal, and other biomass fuels are burned. And on this slide, you can see some of our findings. So this graph shows black carbon concentrations on the y-axis, going up and down vertically. And then on the x-axis, we have time of day. So it looks at the average concentration occurring at the 4 sites at different times of the day. And as you can see, there are some pretty clear peaks around 7 and 8 a.m. and then again around 7 to 10 p.m. And this generally corresponds to traffic patterns, which mean that traffic could be a large contributor to the black carbon concentrations that we're seeing. And what is interesting here as well is the green line, which represents the Richmond Police Department monitor, is the lowest. And that monitor was actually located around shrubbery and vegetation, which really further validates that trees and vegetative barriers are really effective for reducing harmful air pollution. And there are additional analyses conducted with these results, and it is available in a dashboard that will be circulated at the end. And now we will jump into the toxic metals analysis. So Groundwork Richmond conducted a toxic metal sample analysis at 9 different locations in Richmond, as shown by the blue circles on the map. They used mini-vault air samplers, which extended from the roof of the van. You can kind of see in the photo to the right. And the samples are basically pull in particulate PM10 and PM2.5, and then they're sent to the lab, and the lab speciates the metals that are contained in those samples. And to analyze the results, we compared the average concentrations from the samples in Richmond to historical concentrations at 3 local sites. They were Vallejo, Oakland, and Livermore, and that was conducted from 2017 to 2019. And so this figure shows the Richmond site locations on the left, and along the top are the different metals that were sampled. And so when you see yellow, orange, and red, that means the concentrations at the Richmond sites were higher than the averages in the other Bay Area sites. And you can see there's some consistency among the fire stations. And now you might be wondering what comes next. Groundwork Richmond was awarded a new AB 617 CARB grant to launch the Air Rangers 3 program. And Air Rangers 3 aims to continue this project and really focus on further source attribution refinement to support the community emissions reductions programs. And in addition, supporting a long-term sensor network in the community and further engaging the community and developing the local workforce. Okay, so previously, clarity nodes were the sensors that were and still are deployed in Richmond. And these sensors are subscription-based, which means that at the end of the monitoring period, they won't be pulling in any new data. And so in an effort to build community capacity and support a long-term monitoring network, Ramboll and Groundwork Richmond will be deploying 35 purple air sensors. They're not subscription-based, they measure particulate matter, and they run on Wi-Fi for as long as their lifetime and a power source. And the goal here is to really target areas that are underrepresented. And so on this map on the left, The purple dots represent where there are existing purple air sensors, and a lot of those are owned by members of the community. And so we'll really be focusing on filling these gaps, especially in the red areas which have the higher scores. And if you're interested in hosting a sensor, you can sign up today. You'll just need to have an outdoor power plug and Wi-Fi that can reach that area. Okay. The GIF here, it's playing. Yes. Shows wildfires moving across the Bay Area and how hills and lowlands can impact this dispersion. And we found that the share user base quadrupled during wildfire season last year. And so in order to help the community really understand the impact that wildfires have on air quality, we'll be adding this in as a category on share, so you can explicitly see that as opposed to it being included in the unknown or background source. And in addition, we will be exploring the possibility of displaying the real-time source contribution from the refinery in the share model as well. And this will allow the community members to understand the estimated impact or lack of impact that flaring and other refinery related point sources have on air quality in the community. And lastly, this slide just shows a summary of kind of the highlights of the Air Rangers 3 project. And I want to especially draw your attention to the community engagement section because I hadn't talked about that. And so Groundwork Richmond leads the community engagement, but Ramboll will support that by preparing a dashboard to summarize the insights of the next 2 years of shared data with a special focus on understanding the spatial and temporal trends and to really have something that's very accessible and tangible for the community members. And yeah, thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat and Justin or I can answer during the Q&A panel.
Thank you, Aya. That was a great presentation. And now we are going to do our little break. Actually, I'm going to let Jess explain the raffle.
All right. So we're going to take about a 5-minute break, but just so that we have enough time for our panelists, I'm going to do the raffle at the 2:50 mark. So I'm going to start this right now. Go ahead, grab any drink or go to the bathroom. I have pretty much everybody on the raffle. So what we are raffling off, let me bring that up first, is a air purifier and then also a $10 gift card from Kaleidoscope. So go ahead, take your little break, and then we will reconvene in the next 2 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, I'll give about 10 more seconds for people to come back. And I'm gonna bring up this other screen so that you can see your names. I think I got pretty much everybody, but go ahead and type in the chat if you don't see your name on here. There is a number, a phone number that's calling in, but I'm not sure. They don't have the name on there. All right, we're gonna get started. We're gonna do our first raffle. We'll raffle off that first air purifier, and here we go. Hey! Yay, Kevin! Awesome. So he wins a purifier, and we have one more right now, which is going to be a $10 gift card to Kaleidoscope, awesome little cafe in Point Richmond. Yay, Katrinka, congratulations. We will be doing two more. We have two more raffle prizes to with two more air purifiers to raffle off. Once we're recording who wins those, and then we will reach out to you via the email that you registered for this webinar. We got about 20 more seconds, 30 more seconds, and then we're gonna pass it along to Lifelong Medical Care. So.
Is it okay if I go now, if I start?
Yes, hi Deja. I think Salma was going to introduce you real quick.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We have Lifelong Medical Care here to present and give us some resources they're providing us specifically to the Richmond community. So please give her your undivided attention.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Deja. I do work for Lifelong Medical Care. My role at Lifelong is the coordinator for the Health Promoters Program. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what that is and how it relates to kind of what we're talking about today with the environment and the role that asthma plays and everything. So first of all, talking about what is asthma, maybe some people know, but just in case, it's a lung disease that can occur at any age, and it is a chronic condition, and it makes it hard for air to move in and out of your lungs. So some people with asthma are very sensitive to certain triggers. The image on the left kind of shows what some of these triggers might be, and they make the airways in the lungs swell up and make them tight and makes it harder to breathe. So when a flare-up like that happens, that's called an asthma attack, and sometimes it can be fatal. And the prevalence of asthma in the US, so 1 in every 13 people has asthma, more common in women than men, and more common in children than everybody else, or than adults. So yes, and asthma has a higher chance of occurring in minority populations, and those that live in disadvantaged communities have a higher risk of also dying from asthma. So to talk a little bit about our program, Lifelong has been doing the Health Promoters Program for the past 11 years. And in that time, over 300 people have kind of come in and out as health promoters. So it gives the community a chance to learn a little bit of civic engagement and helps community members become advocates and active people in their community. So what is a health promoter? The Health Promoters Program acts as a bridge between community and the agencies that it works with and represents. And the role as a health promoter is to educate and share information with your community. So some of the benefits of being in the program are getting to learn some leadership skills, learning about different public health issues. Those are kind of how like health and social issues interact. There's an ongoing training and health education that happens, and you get hands-on learning and experience in the Health Promoters Program, and you get to learn a little bit more about healthy eating and active living as well. So the training, kind of how where asthma comes into play after you become a health promoter, which happens in 8 sessions. You have the opportunity to do the asthma home visiting training and the environmental training. So that takes place in 2 weeks, and that training is paid as well as the home visits are paid. So the role of the home visits are kind of to help people in the community, our lifelong patients specifically, kind of take more control over their asthma and help to manage it better. So you would kind of work with the person, help find some solutions together, and connect them to resources that we have. And again, the visits are paid for each one you complete. So if you would like to register, we do have a Spanish speaking group and an English speaking group. So our contact information is here. And I think if anyone wants, we can also put this information in the chat, right? Okay.
Yes, please, Deja.
Okay. Yeah, so that was all.
All right, thank you so much. And we will be emailing our participants today all these links and resources. So if you missed it in the chat or you weren't sure which resource you're looking for, we will be sending out a follow-up email. So thank you, Deja, for all that great information. Now we are going to transition to our panelist portion of our presentation. We have 3 experts here with us today, and we really want to engage you, the participants. I already see some questions coming up in the chat, so hopefully we can answer those questions. If not, like I said, we could follow up later on with an email. I'm going to start by introducing Justin Banduro. And Justin, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah, thanks.
So you can hear me? Cool.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. First, I just wanted to thank Groundwork Richmond and the city of Richmond for hosting the event today. My name's Justin Banduro, and I work for Ramboll, and I've been involved in all of the previous Air Rangers projects with Groundwork Richmond dating back to 2018, 2019. And working in all of the projects that I described in the presentation. So involved like setting up the original monitoring network to the toxic metals and black carbon analyses that were presented. But my main role is the lead developer for Ramboll Share, and that's producing the real-time air quality maps that Aya was also showing, and just making sure that they're running on time and updating every hour of the day so that everyone can have the best picture of the current air quality that is affecting them. So, and one really cool aspect about the model that we have in Richmond, and Aya highlighted this, is it's running at 10 by 10 meter resolution. So this is really hyper local. So you can really see differences at the block by block level. And so you can know, like Aya said, like maybe you shouldn't go out, or you can plan your route, or if you should want to go to a park, you can see what the air quality is like there. So I've been involved in setting up and deploying these models, or deploying the model for Richmond. So I'm happy to answer any questions related to that, or any other questions related to the work that I presented.
Awesome, thanks, Justin. And next I will introduce Julia Luongo.
Thanks, Marlena. Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Luongo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an air pollution specialist at the California Air Resources Board, or CARB for short. I think people have already been saying CARB. So if you're wondering what that means, it's California Air Resources Board. I work in the group that implements Assembly Bill 617, the Assembly Bill 617 program statewide, and I specifically work with Bay Area communities in the program since I live in Richmond myself. This program that I work on that was established by Assembly Bill 617, but it's actually called the Community Air Protection Program. It aims to more quickly and more effectively reduce exposure to air pollution and preserve public health in communities that are disproportionately impacted by air pollution. And Richmond is a community that's selected under this program right now. Before I joined CARB, I previously was an air quality consultant at Ramboll. So I worked with Groundwork Richmond Air Rangers before, and I'm very fond of this work. So thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
Thanks, Julia, for being here. And we also have Kevin Durano Hernandez. Kevin, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kevin G. Rana Hernandez. My pronouns are he, him, L. I'm a part of the BACMED's Community Advisory Council as their youth representative, and I'm also a part of their I forgot what's it called, SERPSER committee for Richmond and San Pablo and their monitoring team. It's really great to be here. And I'm also the student body president of Contra Costa College.
All right, so now I want to open it up to questions from our audience. And I am just going to, I saw a question over here that I want to make sure. And so this question is specifically for Ramboll. It says, what does Ramboll hope to accomplish once enough data is collected?
Yeah, I can answer that. Naya, feel to jump in if you have anything else you'd like to add. So yeah, in order to make decisions about how to improve air quality, you need actionable data, and that's the whole goal of SHARE, is to provide actionable data so that folks like Kevin, who's part of the emissions reduction planning committee, can make decisions based on the best quality data that we have available. So we have been running Ramboll Share for 2 years now. And so like Aya showed in those two maps for 2020 versus 2021, and we have seen trends where you have higher amount of pollution in some neighborhoods versus others, and you can actually, based on the emissions that we model with SHARE, you can understand what is contributing to elevated concentrations in some neighborhoods versus others. And so we can make decisions based on I guess the sectors that we're seeing contributing to air pollution. And what I would like to see with Ramboll Shares, even after these decisions are made for reducing emissions, is to continue running this model or continue having the monitoring going. And that's a really cool part of Air Rangers 3 is that Groundwork will be deploying purple air monitors, which are going to be permanent. And so even after even after the grant, these monitors can still be running, and you can still look at trends to understand if the decisions made to reduce emissions are actually doing as they're expected. And that'd be really cool to see. And I really hope to still be involved and see that, and see in like maybe 5 years down the road, see that these concentrations are going down.
All right, thank you, Justin. And sorry, I'm just reading the questions that were in the chat, and then maybe we can jump into maybe some other questions that may have come in. I see another question here that says, what do the metals recycling processing companies, specifically SIMS, do to demonstrate a minimum threshold reduction in uncontrolled emissions from this facility? Isn't there means to monitor, report to state, and file a lawsuit or impose penalties of some kind? The Richmond residents and their children deserve protection. Does anyone feel like they can tackle this question?
I can take a stab at that one.
Awesome, thanks.
So yeah, this is a great question. There are a number of things that you can do if you do have concerns or complaints. So just kind of starting to lay some context here. Any facility is going to have a permit that's been issued by the air district, and they have to comply with that permit. And so there are inspections that should be occurring to ensure that they're complying with that. But if you are near a facility and you see smoke, you smell something, you see dust, that same complaint form that was previously mentioned can be used. And the more data that the air district gets on a facility, the more grounds they have to make sure they can do something about it. So that's one thing you can do is file a complaint. Another thing is that under this program, Assembly Bill 617, there is a community air monitoring plan. And I know that SIMS was actually within the focus area where they are doing air toxics monitoring. And so I would keep an eye out for the results that should be coming out from that monitoring plan soon. And if the concern is metals, that may be something that under that plan, they can monitor nearby and see what's going on. So that's another effort. And then lastly, we have folks like Kevin who are on the Community Emissions Reduction Steering Committee that's also under Assembly Bill 617. And I would say getting the ear of that steering committee, because they are putting together a plan right now to reduce local emissions and exposure in Richmond. And so getting the ear of that steering committee and saying, hey, this is my concern, is another way to ensure that something makes it into that plan that then will have concrete actions to reduce emissions from that facility. So those are a couple things that that can be done. Yeah. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, Lorena, can I just like hop in real quick?
Yes, please.
I just want to make a little plug-in. In mid-March, there's going to be a listening forum hosted by the Air District with other community members related to the SERP Steer Committee. And so that's also a way for you guys to, voice your concerns or anything that you guys want to, share, your experience in Richmond or just like any orders that you guys, those, what Julia mentioned is like other ways that you could like actually, send complaints and whatnot. But getting your actual voices and like getting your experiences is also really important. So hope to send more information about that in the future.
All right, thank you. And let's see. Just want to make sure I'm going in order here with the questions. Let's see. There have been recent concerns about the trains coming through Richmond that carry coal. Can this research pinpoint the impact that coal has on air quality?
I can take a stab at answering that. So there are two sources from trains carrying coal that be concerned with. The first is the combustion that's actually to power those trains. And so that releases lots of diesel particulate matter, which can be dangerous. And in fact, and also the coal dust, which is transported by these trains, and that can also affect air quality and pollution. But we had one monitor for the black carbon study that was actually located in the Richmond Police Department. So this was at the back of their parking lot. And when we were installing the monitor, it's located right next to the rail yard, and you could actually see the coal dust on top of those trains. And so we were expecting that we would either see really high fossil fuel combustion related from those trains passing by that would impact those monitors. But like Aya showed in her presentation, that monitor actually had the lowest concentrations, well, at least for black carbon observed. And that's one thing you could, but like she said, that area was also heavily shrubs. So there's lots of shrubs like enclosing that monitor. But it's not to say there isn't an impact from those, but our share model does model rail emissions too. So if you're clicking around on the map and you see non-road sources, those are either from two sources, either vessel emissions, and that's usually around ports where you see higher contribution from non-road, or from rail yard, and that would be from the combustion, but not explicitly from the coal dust.
Does anybody else want to add to that? Okay. And I'm not sure if I'm seeing like if people raise their hands, but if somebody does have their hand raised and I'm missing it, Sabrina, I'm not sure. Are you seeing the raised hand?
No, there's no raised hands.
Oh, okay.
There are some in the Q&A section.
Okay.
I can answer.
This one asks, who can we contact if we have more questions or want more information? I guess it just depends on which, or because we have so many organizations here present today. And I, like I mentioned earlier, I do want to make sure to email everyone a follow-up email with links and resources for everyone. You can reach Groundwork. We have a info@groundwork email, and you can email us directly, and I can go ahead and put that in the chat as well. And I did see Deja also put her contact information as well. I see another question here. How do you get specific data on air emissions coming from the 580 freeway between the Richmond Bridge and Albany?
I think that's another question I can answer. So the really novel part of the share system is that we have live or near live traffic emissions. And how we do this is we use like mobile phone data. So like we leverage the same data that Google or anyone has on your phones where they're tracking, but we only track the real-time speed. So every hour we pull in the latest data from mobile phone data, and we have real-time speeds. And from these real-time speeds, we can estimate traffic emissions. And so what this allows is like if there's heavy congestion on, say, the 580 freeway, like near the Richmond Bridge, their speeds will be a lot lower, and we can associate that with higher emissions. And so that's really cool system. And we've actually seen, if you in our real-time speeds, as you can see, like in the direction of like rush hour traffic, you'll see like really high emissions in the air, in the ones like going like down into the city. And it's really cool that we can model this in real time. And so that's I guess one of the sources from the share system that we have the most confidence in, because we're actually, instead of relying on a static emission inventory like we have for modeling the refineries or other point sources, for this one we have a better estimate based on I guess real-time emissions. And one other improvement, and I mentioned this this is kind of going off tangent, but for the Air Rangers 3 project, is we'll have also have a better estimate for the wildfire source contribution as well. So we're hoping for that we can provide like, so when you see really high concentrations, you'll be able to know that that is coming from the fire in Northern California or other ones in the area.
All right, thanks, Justin. I missed a question earlier asking about what kinds of jobs, and how many jobs are expected to be produced by this project. I believe this is referring to our new grant that we were awarded, which is going to continue to fund our air monitoring program and continue to fund positions like Salma's role, and hopefully we'll be able to hire a couple more folks to help us with monitoring as we sign the contract to this new grant. And what else? What efforts can be taken to protect myself and my loved ones from particulate matter? Julia or Kevin?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too many questions, but yeah, I can take that one. So there's a number of things you can do. Like this presentation talked about checking your air quality. That's a great first step because in some cases there may be nothing to do in that particular day if the air is very clean. So step one would be check what your air quality is like. And a lot of times, our noses and our eyes can tell us a lot too. So even if you don't have access to a phone at that moment, you don't know where to go. If you see it looks pretty hazy, if you smell smoke like wood smoke, that's a very good way of knowing, okay, it's not great out right now. And so those are some, in terms of trying to know what's going on, those are some things you can do and make decisions based on that. And then also from an exposure standpoint, you have, we spend a lot of time indoors. And so like the air filter that we raffled off today, using a HEPA air filter can help reduce your exposure to particulate matter. So by running an air filter indoors and making sure that when you do run those filters, you have your windows closed and you're keeping your house really tight so that the filter works well, that can help reduce exposure to particulate matter. And then also reducing any indoor sources of particulate matter, because we do, again, spend so much time indoors. Not burning indoors makes a huge difference. Cooking is actually a really big source of emissions, and if you have a gas stove in particular. So things like that, thinking about, what kind of burning am I doing in my home? Is there a way to reduce that can help reduce exposure to particulate matter?
Thank you. I have a question here. One way to mitigate emissions is by making public transportation more accessible and affordable. What is something the city can contribute to alleviating this issue? And I think we do have Samantha Carr. I'm not sure if you want to tackle this question since it was directed at the city.
Yeah, I can take this question.
Thank you.
So I do want to note that the city only has jurisdiction within its boundaries. That being said, in general, the city, tries to partner with different community-based organizations to increase ownership of electric vehicles, plant more trees, increase bike lanes, and encourage active transportation. Also, the new ferry terminal in Richmond, the city works to implement its climate action plan in order to reduce GHG emissions from different sources. And that includes the freeways. And that's what the city's doing. That being said, we do what we can since we don't have jurisdiction over the freeways, but we do what we can to try to mitigate the effects of the freeway on residents and community members.
Okay, thank you. I think I have a follow-up.
Lorena, if it's okay, just a really quick follow-up. Another mitigation is that CARB, we regulate mobile sources, and so we have we have a lot of rules and regulations to phase out to phase in electric vehicles and trucks. And so if somebody would like more information on the types of regulations that we have passed and what those schedules look like for turning over our fleets to zero emission vehicles, I'm happy to share more information on that as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Julia. Justin, I do have a follow-up question for you. It says, how do we get access to the 580 freeway emissions that you mentioned?
That's a really good question, because our model doesn't show the emissions. It shows the modeled concentrations that are adjusted by the sensor. So you can't really zoom in on any point and click on one major roadway and see oh, it's this is the amount of emissions that are there in that hour. And that is something that we would like to add at some point to the model. Currently, those are stored as we have those stored as just shape files that are generated every hour, and those are fed into the model. And one thing we would like to do is add new layers to the share map, and these are part of our features that we'd like to see. And so say you can just toggle a layer, and then you would see all of because in Richmond we have I think 1.9 million road links that are modeled. So these are individual road links, and so we model 1.9 million of them. So you could see, oh, you can actually see the hot spots or see where the highest emissions are. at every hour, but unfortunately those aren't it's not easily available now to see those freeway emissions.
Lorna, one thing I just want to mention is, I mean, there's also different, resources that you could definitely like look into, like, what was it? County Viral Screen, Open Maps, things like that, just so you could like also think about what Share doesn't have. You could also like look into those platforms and, kind of get like an estimate of, the air quality there.
Okay, we do have another question here.
There's a question in the Q&A first. I think Dylan Santana Luna is asking, what kind of upkeep is required for the purple air monitors?
Thank you, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Julia, do you want to take that, or I can try? Oh, so
You take it,
I
you
can
take it,
try.
Justin.
Julia can jump in if I'm wrong, because she's one of the experts in this. But those purple air sensors are really reliable from what we've seen, and this is because unlike the clarity nodes that we had deployed in the first 2 Air Rangers projects, the purple airs have what's called dual sensors. So they actually have 2 laser counters that are monitor counting for for PM, and you can really see easily if one of them is failing. You'll be notified, and that's something will have access to, and then you can take steps to go in and inspect it. But Purple Air actually recommends not like regularly cleaning out their sensors, and they say like I think their motto is like if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So it's only if you see like one of these channels goes wonky compared to the other one, then someone can go out, and usually what it is like spiders or insects get into these channels because they can crawl into them, and like I think for the clarity sensors we had like spider webs in some of them, and they had to be cleaned out, and other stuff can get in there. So it's usually only if we see some issue with one of these sensors we can go out and try to like clean out these channels and fix it.
All right, thank you. And I have a question for Kevin. How do I learn more about environmental justice opportunities in Contra Costa Community College?
So right now, it's one of our focuses for this year that we want to be more eco-friendly or just go zero waste for the rest of the school year, or just the rest of the time at Contra Costa College. The student body's looking into collaborating with different other colleges like DVC or LMC, just figuring out, making videos with testimonies from students, how they feel about the environment. We have different other Earth Week campaigns that we're going to be doing later on, and I think next month or the month after, focusing on how do we remain more sustainable. There is also a committee that I believe the public could be a part of as a member of the public to, be a part of and, listen on the committees and, give your input. So they meet monthly. Right now they're going to be starting, I think they're going to start to meet next month. But right now DVC and LMC are more active and more far ahead than CCC, fortunately, but we're going to get there soon. So, but as student body president, my hope for the future is to pass a climate action resolution and to do a lot of, eco-friendly things throughout the campus, because CCC is a home for all students and it's also my home as well. So yeah, I think that answers the question, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Another question about Purple Air. Since there isn't a subscription for Purple Air, what will be the cost for installing 35 monitors?
So maybe I can do a better job. So there are costs. So I guess there's a cost for the sensor itself, and I guess labor costs for deploying all of these sensors out in the field. But the purple air sensor itself is I think about $200 or $250 and like the question mentioned, there's no subscription fee. So once you have that sensor, you'll run as long as that it's still like connected to Wi-Fi and power. It will continuously keep uploading data. So yeah, maybe Lauren, you can speak to, I'm not sure if this cost for I guess deploying them for as part of the Air Rangers 3.
Yeah, so we will be deploying them at no cost to the resident or the participant receiving the purple air sensor, and funding for that will be provided through this grant. So we will be installing and supplying those at no cost to the participant. Any other questions from our audience? I'm just reading through this. Okay, here we go. Thank you all for organizing, sharing your experience, and answering questions. I know it can take quite a while for positive changes to really be seen around mitigation with air pollution. How would you recommend encouraging folks to maintain momentum and hope that what we do now, tree planting, reducing emissions through greener transport, etc., is worth it? That's a kind of a big question. Who are you pointing at, Julia?
I'm pointing at Kevin.
Oh, okay.
I think he's maybe pointing at me. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of was. Yeah, but I think I'll share this. I think what kind of gives me hope for the future and kind of like centers me back to like the work that I do, because I do a lot, and one of the things is like, you know, being a panelist on here, or just being a community advisory council, or like having these responsibilities. What centers me back is just like, you know, the benefits of it. You know, you love your community. I love my community, and I grew to love it, even though there's like a lot of like hate, or there's a lot of things within it that's like kind of like brings you down. But at the end of the day, I feel like for me, it just matters of like who you have around yourself. And also I feel like, to me, environmental justice, it really just means about like community advocacy. So yeah, air quality, yeah, like water quality, but I feel like it's more centered around like community, what we need as a community in order to progress further. So I think, you know, thinking about it exactly, like who do you really do it for, and think about like, why do you really do it? So, and like, why do you really care? And so I really care about this work because like it really means a lot to me, and it really means a lot to like the people that I centered around myself with. So yeah, I think that's kind of like what I have in the top of my head. Pass it on to you, Julia.
I love that. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I would say from a perspective, from an agency perspective, I think similar to what Kevin is saying, building up that community capacity, and that will help build momentum, a bigger voice, more relationships. Me as an agency person, I want to be able to connect with community. I want to see that capacity build up. And that advocacy tells us what we need to do, where we need to go. We want to be able to build those relationships with community. So one way to really build that momentum is to connect with other folks who want to do that advocacy, and then connect with me so that we can, you know, make positive change in the community. So that would be my take.
And just to add to both what Kevin and Julia were saying, and is that there is support in community. Additionally, you know, once you go out and like help out your local nonprofit or whatever you want to do about it, you're building resources that way. And with the increased resources that you have, it'll be easier for you to fall into the whole environmental movement and all that kind of good stuff. So I strongly encourage you to go plant a tree, or go paint a mural, or, you know, just go pick up trash. It's great, honestly. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question here. I think that part of Air Rangers 3's goal is to promote community engagement. I understand that Groundwork in the city of Richmond is going to promote and disseminate this information. Will this take the form of a campaign? That would be a start to encouraging us residents to maintain momentum. So yes, I say it will be part of a campaign, and doing more workshops like we had today, where we're inviting not only our partners who work side by side with us, but also the city of Richmond and community to come and hear, firsthand from us on our project details, and also hear like maybe what challenges we had to overcome to fulfill the project or the program, and then also just hear questions and concerns from the community. And I think continuing those conversations and holding space for these types of questions and these types of concerns is really important. So this is just the beginning of more of these types of workshops. And hopefully in person one day, and not in awkward Zoom. But yes, we'll get there one day. And I don't see any more questions coming in. So just want to give a couple more minutes if anybody else. There's been a lot of comments in the chat, so I just want to make sure we capture those comments, and there's been a lot of really good information that's been shared out in the comments. So just want to thank everyone for participating and either asking a question or giving in some comments in the chat. That's been really great to see that engagement. Do we have any other comments from our panelists before we switch gears?
I just want to say that just with Ramboll, but we're super excited to start working on Air Rangers 3, and we're going to be doing, like Aya highlighted in her presentation, some really cool things as part of this new project. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to working with Groundwork Richmond and City Richmond for this new part of the project.
Thanks, Justin.
And I'll just say thanks for having me, and I'm excited to follow this work and see how it really transforms what's the kind of actions that are gonna, I think, come out of the emissions reduction plan in Richmond. I think it's exciting to see how this can really be a really important ground truthing data for really good actions in Richmond. So thanks everyone.
Thank you. Kevin, any final words of wisdom?
I would just say thank you so much for having me and considering me to become a panelist for this amazing presentation about the data. I really look forward to be working with Ramboll and CARB and the Air District on these initiatives, especially Groundwork Richmond on their Air Rangers 3. Yeah, so thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you all so much. And we do have a couple more raffle prizes, so do not go anywhere. Jess is going to help us out here.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank you to our panelists. Thanks to all of our attendees for asking really great questions. And so we are actually going to be raffling off 3 things because somebody decided they would like to give away their raffle. So we've got 2 air purifiers and 1 $10 gift card to Kaleidoscope. So I think I got almost everybody who stayed on. Raise your hand, put it in the chat if you don't see your name. Otherwise you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna do the air. Oh my God, the air purifier first. Here we go. Congratulations. All right, we'll do the next one as a gift card. The Kaleidoscope gift card. And we've got Lara. Congratulations. And last but not least, we'll do one more air purifier. And Cara S. Great, great. Congratulations. Is everybody here to get there? Let's see.
So we'll just we'll just email the winners and coordinate a pickup time for their prizes.
Good.
All right, that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all to our guests and our panelists, and to Sabrina and Samantha Carr and Nora for your support with the City of Richmond. And to everyone that presented today, we're so very grateful for your time and for your expertise. And again, we will be emailing our participants today with some follow-up links, all the links that were in the chat or that were in the slideshow presentation. And we also got requests for the physical slideshow itself. So we will be sending that out as well. And if you have any further questions, feel free to, I'll go ahead and drop my email real quick in the chat. And yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone again at our next workshop to be determined. And I'm excited to continue this awesome work with you all. So thank you again. Bye-bye.